Morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday to you. Now, I saw a news article coming out of the US about a Jamaican woman, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it, Zine. And I'm going to say allegedly for the purposes of I wasn't there, and I don't know if I'm getting the right story. So, this young woman who is social media famous is dating somebody a gentleman, Zine. I guess she found out that the gentleman has a woman in another state. So she was living in New York, and her would-be quote-unquote mate is living in Florida. When she found out about the new entanglement, I don't know if she was being harassed, or I don't know if she felt like she needed to protect her relationship with the gentleman, and I don't know if she confronted said gentleman about it and the relationship with the other person just continued, but she took it upon herself that she had to confront this woman. Zine, you know, with Mr. Farr, allegedly. So she went ahead. She booked a flight. She drive to the airport, stand up in the TSA line, wait for them for call her gate number. Got the gate, wait for them for call her boarding number. Jump on a flight, which is probably 2.5 to 3 hours long. Eat the sun chips or Cheez-Its with a half a cup of apple juice that them give her. And decide, say she, I go to Florida, go confront this woman because how dare you come into my relationship and want to show ownership of the man that is mine. Allegedly. Upon getting to Florida, I'm guessing she onboarded the flight, pick up her bag, if she did, or walk with her carry-on, catch her Uber, went to this girl's house. A confrontation ensued. I don't know who started the confrontation, but if you fly all that way for Gasmadiad, it's highly likely that statistically you are the one who started the confrontation, right? And then whatever confrontation ended up in a tussle, ended up with the woman from Florida being stabbed, ended up with her eventually losing her life. And it is also touted that at the time the woman who was the confronter was also pregnant, right? And the story just kind of highlights how important mental health is. But in a roundabout ways, let me say this. It's not only important to identify that mental health is important and to find resources, but I believe that if you're a high-functioning human being with an 80% knowledge capacity in your brain, you must be able to identify the areas of your mental health that needs work or where you need help. Because, for example, this woman is a working woman. She's obviously high functioning. She doesn't suffer from any of the mental illnesses. Well, I don't know if she does, but no news media said it. But she's a high functioning human being for all intents and purposes, right? And in a fit of rage, you go through 100 steps, 100 knobs you have to turn to get to the step where you finally confront somebody and kill them. Took their life because of your partner. Now, let me say this. As a nurse, you're taught how your practice should be when you're dealing with people. And one of our first areas of practice is what we call an assessment. Most times you end up doing a subjective assessment, which is what the person tells you, and then an objective assessment, which is what you can see. And I believe for us as adult human beings with a high functioning brain capacity, we must be able to carry out our assessments subjectively to see what bothers us and what our triggers are. It is incumbent upon us to figure those things out. A therapist might help you walk through it, but you should also be able to figure those things out, right? Now, me personally, if I find out that my partner is a trigger for me, then I'm either going to find ways to work through those triggers or it may be best that I leave this person alone. Charles Darwin taught us the theory of self-preservation, right? And he said only the species who adapt and adjust are going to be the species to survive. So in a situation where we are told that, you have to look out for other people first, our innate self tells us for us to look after other people, we have to be at our best self, right? This is the concept of them telling you in the same airline that she took to Florida that you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else. And in layman's terms, that could translate to make sure that you are good before you approach anybody else, Zine. And I'm not saying that life isn't hard enough where we feel the pressure, where we are not able to be our best selves in all situations. But we must stay away from situations that are going to trigger us. Now, this young lady, she's not yet even 30 years old. She is going to spend her life in prison. And even if she did not get life in prison, she is going to be spending her best years behind bars. Stories allegedly also state that the man that she confronted the young lady about is now engaged to somebody else. And because she was pregnant at the time, it is now somebody else who is taking care of her child. So even if she got 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in jail, she is going to be missing out on every critical milestone that her child goes through. And as a person who was in a situation where I wasn't necessarily raised by my mother in person, and I have effects of that, I cannot imagine what this young child is now going to have to face when the only time they can see the mother is when they're taken to the correctional facility, probably once or twice a month to say hello. When she comes out of prison, she will be no more than a stranger to her own child. Is what I mean? I also must say this: as adults, we must seek to find peace in situations that are fraught with chaos. Anger cannot be the only base emotion that we employ to deal with the issues and manage the stressors that we face. Because not only is it not good for us, as you can see, she's now in jail, but it's also not good for the receiving person on the other end, because that person lost their life. We cannot allow our base emotion to be only anger. Everything somebody says that stresses us out or frustrates us, our first line of defense is to be angry. Anger doesn't allow us to work through anything. As a base emotion, it is more on the negative side of the spectrum, where we do not have clarity when we are angry. And for us to use logic over emotion, that will never happen if we are in a consistent state of anger. I hope that makes sense to all of us. I would also say this, because I'm not defending a woman over a man. If something does not leave you peace, P-E-A-C-E, leave, because then you're going to be in pieces, P-I-E-C-E-S. Yeah, I think I spelled it correctly. You don't want to live the rest of your life. You don't want the most important part of your contribution to history. Just think about it. Just imagine if somebody was writing a history book about you, and the only thing they can talk about is how aggressive and angry you were. You weren't in charge of your emotions. You didn't know how to conduct a standard relationship. And there was nothing good to be said about you, or even to say that you spent the best years of your life in prison because you could not control yourself. This all rewinds back to mental health, because while people think that, oh, I'm all right, I don't need nobody, I don't have to talk to nobody, I don't have to identify this, I am not looking as bad as that person. We all need to introspect. We all need to write down or make a mental note of the situations that cause us the most distress, and remove ourselves from said situation before it becomes too late, before we become a statistic in the obituary or a statistic in a correctional facility with an assigned number that you are going to be referred to for the rest of your life. It not only affects you, it affects your friends, it affects your family, it affects your children. It cannot be that whatever sweets or body parts that you get from another person, it pushes you to the point where you think that it's only right for me to defend this to the T and then end up not being able to enjoy my life for the rest of my life. And then to argue that it was self-defense, miss, you flew. If it's self-defense, you would fly Gariad. It's kind of indefensible. We cannot defend you. Right? And as a person who celebrates my national pride, this looks so bad, because in American media, whenever something happens, the first thing they're going to say is Jamaican born. Even if that person only spent 6 months in Jamaica, even if that person has renounced their citizenship of being Jamaican, they're not a dual citizen, they're a fully fledged American person who was born and raised here, the first thing they say is Jamaican born. And if they don't say Jamaican born, they say of Jamaican parents, automatically putting a negative connotation on the country, as though we are a band of hooligans who just cannot control ourselves, and the least of the thing somebody says to us, we want to take them out. It reflects poorly on all of us. I'm not going to pretend to understand what was going through her head. I'm not going to pretend to understand that she might not have been hurt, because as women, and many times we invest in a partner because we see our lives with them. They, are equal to us. They make us feel alive. We feel good when we're around them. Our nervous system gets to relax. But that one moment of betrayal brings us to the front of the line, where we feel like, oh my God, why is this happening to me, and what can I do to solve it? So in truth and in fact, in her anger, in her inability to think logically, she may now think that the best way to solve this is to get rid of this person, without even thinking about how it's going to blow back on her family, and on her community, on her country as a whole. We cannot allow the base emotion of anger to get the best of us, such that we destroy our history. Mental health is important. Assess yourself, find out your base emotions that you cling to, and find out what the triggers for those emotions are. That is the only way you can then call yourself a fully functioning, caring person in society. The earth has 8 billion people. All of us are not going to be in love all the time. All of us are not going to be peaceful. But you know what? Finding true PEACE starts inward. It has to be something that you develop from inside. And developing that is finding out what makes you be at peace and what takes from your peace. And let me close this by saying, men, women, and everybody in between, if somebody loves you, they will not put you in harm's way. No matter how much PTSD or trauma they're going through, if you have a partner that loves you, committing to a person who loves you, they will never put you in harm's way. They will always find a way to try and be your peace. Your home should be peace. And so, as I've said before, if you don't feel like there's a provision of peace, then it's perhaps best you leave. You don't have to always fight. Sometimes flight is also good. But anyways, in regards to the story, as I said before, all of it is allegedly, and this was only my unsolicited opinion. You don't even really have to listen to me. I'm just a RN who has dealt with people on every end of the mental spectrum in my years. So what do I know? Have a good day, everyone.